it's really been a week of contrasts, hasn't it? On Sunday, we celebrated the Epiphany, and the image that's in our mind is of the Magi, the wise men, coming to Bethlehem and seeing the babe, the Christ child, the Savior, the one who is to be the king for them in their reading. It's going to be the king of all of these people. And they look down, and there's this little baby. And little babies are always cute, aren't they? Most of the time they're cute. And we can always read exactly what it is that they're thinking. See, we always know what babies are thinking. And the reason is because they're thinking exactly what we think they're thinking, and they can't object, they can't speak. So they're always thinking exactly all the nice thoughts that we project upon them, that's exactly what they're thinking. So there's God in his crib thinking exactly what we want him to think, smiling, see how much he loves us, and everything else. He can't speak for himself. And here we are just a few days later, and Jesus is now full grown, 30 years old, and he's standing in the synagogue, and he's speaking. This is a fellow that they thought they knew. This was the carpenter's son. Apparently he had not spoken before. He was not a public speaker. He was a carpenter. Nobody thought that he was ever going to be a teacher, a rabbi, or a miracle worker. And all of a sudden he stands up and he makes these bold proclamations to the people. And they say, isn't that wonderful? Doesn't he speak well? I wonder what seminary he went to. He does so well, Of course, we know, because we've taken a peek at the next chapter in here, that just in a blink of an eye, they turn against him, and they're about to not only throw him out of town, they're about to kill him, because they become so angry with him. In the space of just a few minutes, he goes from being someone who's just delightful. Isn't he wonderful? Aren't his words wonderful? To the point where they're ready to kill him. And you say, what a contrast between that and the little baby who was always saying all those nice things and thinking all those nice things and always smiling and always happy. Now he's an adult. And not only that, now he is God among us. And he is a God who has wonderful, delightful things to say at one minute, but he also has deeply critical and disturbing things to say in the very next minute. He can both elevate us and give us joy and infuriate us in the same sentence. He has suddenly become a real force to be reckoned with. And I think that's the thing that is the important lesson of the week, you might say. Because there are many people who would like to keep Jesus in their life kind of as the baby in the crib. We want Jesus to smile. We want Jesus to stay where he is and to think exactly what we want him to think. Another way of saying the baby in the crib is we want to keep Jesus as a plaster statue or as a carving or something like that. That's not ever going to change. Always got the same expression on its face, and the Jesus that's always thinking exactly what we want him to think. And that's not the real Jesus. When I was in the seminary, they had somebody who had written an article about my dear friend, the good old plastic Jesus. They were referring to the plastic Jesus that was in their car. They had a statue of Jesus on the dashboard, like some people will have little statues in their homes or in their cars. And the wonderful thing about the plastic Jesus was always thought exactly what we wanted him to think. He always had the same smile on his face and never questioned anything that I was doing. He was always my friend who never disagreed with me. And that's the way a a lot of people, even some very pious people, would like to keep Jesus. Keep the good old plastic Jesus that never challenges us. Fact of the matter is that the real Jesus, even among his friends, the apostles, was constantly challenging, correcting them, making them think twice about things that they were doing, and even taking them to task for things that they were doing. He was a force to be reckoned with. And perhaps that's the lesson that we have to gain from reading this gospel. Is the Jesus in my life a Jesus who is a force to be reckoned with? Is the Jesus in my life one who, as I'm receiving him, might just as easily be saying to me, you're receiving me now, and what thoughts are going to be going through your mind 5 minutes from now? What are you going to be saying 5 minutes from now? Are you going to continue to do the things that you've been doing, which seem to be so contrary to everything that I stood for? You know, do we have a Jesus in our hearts and in our lives who's fully alive and who challenges us each and every step, makes us think twice or think more deeply about the things that we profess? Because that's the real Jesus. Good old plastic Jesus is not real. The Jesus who is alive and who is a force to be reckoned with in our hearts and in our daily lives. That's the real Jesus who is the Savior.